Welcome to TPM Vid's Disney Beat, where we talk about all things Disney. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video. We also have Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at TPM Videos. From Disneyland in California to Walt Disney World in Florida, many tales have been told over the past decades about these magical places. Many tips and secrets have been shared on the dozens of Disney rides. But have you ever wondered if all these tales are true? Does one of the teacups at Disneyland actually spin faster than the others? Is Cinderellas Horse secretly hidden on the carousel at Magic Kingdom? And what's a basketball court really doing in the Matterhorn? Well, all these questions, plus many more, will be answered today. We're gonna take a look at some Disney rides and attractions and count down the top 7 Disney secrets and myths debunked. Part 2. Number 7. Main Street, USA was designed to resemble a turn of the 20th century American town. A common piece of information you hear often is that Main Street, USA at Disneyland was inspired off Walt's hometown of Marceline, Missouri. This is even something we've mentioned here on the channel. Even Tilly the ticket attendant's name tag includes a little nod to Marceline, so this has to be the land's inspiration, right? Well, this is sort of a myth and is partially true. Walt Disney wanted Main Street to have the charm of a small town. When Imagineer Harper Goff was tasked with designing Main Street, Walt used his hometown of Marceline, Missouri as an example of the small town feel he was after. Well, Goff wasn't from Marceline, but instead was from the small town of Fort Collins, Colorado. And Fort Collins is actually the true city that inspired the look of Main Street, USA. When Goff showed Disney pictures he'd taken of Old Town Fort Collins, Walt loved the look. It's said that when you walk through Old Town Fort Collins, there's a sense of familiarity if you visited Disneyland. Looking at what's left today, immediately you can see the similarities in the architecture and style. Buildings such as the Firehouse Bookstore and the former Linden Hotel, among others, served as inspiration for the now iconic Disneyland Main Street. So whenever you hear someone say Main Street was inspired by Marceline, Missouri, this is only partially true, and the real inspiration is from Old Town Fort Collins in Colorado. Number 6. At Disney's Animal Kingdom, Kilimanjaro Safaris offers a great way to get up close with some wild animals that aren't audio animatronics. Many consider this to be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and you want to get to see as many animals as possible. There is a myth that the best time to see the most animals on the safari is first thing in the morning and at dusk. This tip can be found all over the internet and in many guidebooks. Well, according to an observational study done by Disney researchers published in 2014 on the Disney Parks blog, they debunked the myth and said that the time of day does not significantly change the probability of spotting animals. These observations from Disney were taken since the park opened in 1998. We've personally always thought that the morning is the best time to visit the safari, but after taking rides all throughout the day, you realize that different species are more active at different times. Since you're dealing with live animals and not audio animatronics, it also comes down to a lot of luck. There's been times where we've been on in the morning and have seen tons of animals, but then other times where there's not as many. It's said that in the afternoons, you usually won't see as many animals, but there's been rides in the afternoon where there's been more animals than ever. Every ride, no matter the time of day, is such a unique experience that there were always animals around. But with this myth here, I'm curious to know your thoughts and observations on the ride, so leave a comment down below. Number 5. One popular Walt Disney World secret you may have heard is that Cinderella has a special horse hidden on Prince Charming's regal carousel at Magic Kingdom. This horse right here with the gold ribbon on its tail is apparently Cinderella's horse. But this was just a myth started by some cast members around the year 2000. The carousel has 5 rows of horses, and on the A-ring, the outside tier facing the guests, are the more elaborately decorated horses. As you move into the B, C, D, and E tiers, the horses become less elaborate, but the horse that's claimed to be Cinderella's horse is in the B tier. According to Isle Vaught, the former artist responsible for restoring and maintaining the carousel at Magic Kingdom, she said that if it truly was Cinderella's horse, it would be on the outside ring and not an inner ring. Vaught's design intention was never to have this be Cinderella's horse, and it would also be much more elaborately decorated. This tweet in 2016 is the only time Disney themselves have ever acknowledged this as being Cinderella's horse. Even the new backstory the attraction received in 2010 made no mention of her horse whatsoever. With so many people now citing this myth, it's become an unofficial secret, but when you look into the facts, it isn't even really true. Number 4. In Critter Country at Disneyland, there's a little myth about some hidden animal figures on the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Prior to housing the Winnie the Pooh ride, the Country Bear Jamboree used to entertain guests right here until September of 2001. Buff, Max, and Melvin from the Country Bear Jamboree are the well-known animal busts mounted on the wall, and these characters can actually be found in the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh. As you leave the Heffalump and Woozle scene, take a look behind you and you'll spot Buff, Max, and Melvin up on the wall. A lot of people do miss these characters, but there's one common misconception. They actually aren't the old animatronics from the Country Bear Jamboree. The current Winnie the Pooh gift shop used to be home to the Mile Long Bar, and in the Mile Long Bar, there were static, non-animatronic busts of Buff, Max, and Melvin. These figures from the bar are the ones that were recycled and not the animatronics from the attraction. If you look at the mouths, you can see that there aren't any joints that would have allowed them to move. So the next time you're on the ride, take a look behind you to spot these long-lost friends. They still act as a little nod to the extinct attraction, but they are in no way audio animatronics. Number 3. This next one sort of goes back to the topic of illusions we spoke about in a previous video. Now, the stretching room at the Haunted Mansion is an iconic part of the attraction. As the ghost host's voice moves around the room, he asks,
"Is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination?
Well, as you take a look around, the room is clearly stretching. It's a convincing illusion, and many people seem to think the effect is achieved by being lowered on an elevator. This is where the misconception comes into play, because depending on the park you go to, it's stretching in a different direction. The original Haunted Mansion opened at Disneyland in 1969, and the stretching room was designed out of necessity. The Disneyland Railroad circles around the park, and the only way to have room for the Haunted Mansion was to build the main show building on the other side of the tracks, but the entrance needed to be built inside the park boundaries. So, Imagineers came up with the idea of building the stretching room that uses an elevator to lower you below the train tracks underground. So yes, at Disneyland, you are actually being lowered. When it came time to build the Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World, there was no need for an elevator since there was room for the show building inside the park boundaries. Imagineers wanted to keep the stretching room effect, so in Florida, the floor doesn't move at all. There's no elevator at Magic Kingdom, and instead, it's the ceiling that rises to create the stretching illusion. Number 2. A common myth and secret you hear a lot about the Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland is that there's a basketball court at the top of the mountain, and this is partially true. We say partially because it's only one hoop and a backboard with some floor markings. You can see it right here in this rare look from a program Disney produced called Disney Fact or Fiction. So with there only being one hoop, it's kind of a stretch calling this a court. But why is there this quote-unquote basketball court in the Matterhorn? Well, that's what's going to be debunked today. The longtime myth was that Disney built a basketball court in the Matterhorn to get around a City of Anaheim building code. It's said that there was a law that structures could only exceed a certain height if it was a sports facility. Since the Matterhorn stands 147 feet above the park, the myth is that the basketball court was installed so they could call the building a sports facility. This would get them around the law. Well, this isn't true, but the basketball court was the result of an idea from Walt Disney himself. The top third of the Matterhorn building was empty, and Walt Disney thought about what the strangest thing would be to occupy that space. He asked Matterhorn cast members, and they said a basketball court. So, Walt delivered. For many years, the area served as a break room for the Matterhorn mountain climbers, and to this day, that basketball net is still up there. Number 1. Taking a spin in one of the 18 teacups on the Mad Tea Party at Disneyland is a doozy, and there's been a long-time myth that a couple of the ride vehicles spin faster than the others. It's been said that the purple-colored teacup along with the orange diamond teacup spin the fastest, and numerous books and tip lists have cited this as being true. Back in 2004, Disney made the wheel inside the cup that guests manually spin much harder to move. But due to guest complaints, Disney adjusted the ride again to make it easier to spin, but it wasn't restored to how it originally was. So maybe prior to 2004, this was true that 2 of the teacups did spin a lot faster. But with that being said, when maintenance went back in to adjust the teacups in late 2004, they were all adjusted to have equivalent speed. Warner Wise of Yesterland says that this myth is just a myth and is no longer true, if it ever actually was true. Multiple cast members who've worked the Mad Tea Party have stated that this myth is in fact false, and they all spin at the same speed. We even heard from some Fantasyland cast members that said this was something that was never shared by Disney. Some were not even aware of the myth, but they still said that they all spin at the same speed. Usually the more weight you have in a teacup, the faster you spin. So cram as many family members and friends into one teacup, and you'll really go for a spin. So were you aware of any of these Disney myths and secrets? What's one thing you've heard someone say about the Disney theme parks that is completely false and not true? I'd love to know. Leave a comment down below to start a conversation, and don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. If you have any videos from the Disney parks that you'd like to share with us to be used in future videos, follow the link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Click the TPM icon on the screen to subscribe to this channel, and check out some of these other videos which we're sure you'll like.